Hi everyone, this is Jean from Happy Indulgence, and today I'm excited to be catching up with Lynette Noni, the #1 Australian best-selling author of the Medora Chronicles series and the Whisper duology. So the last time we caught up was actually for the launch of Greyvale, and plenty has happened since then.
So much.
So to start off with, congratulations on the launch of Weapon.
Thank you for being here, for part of it. Yeah, it's awesome.
How has your tour been so far? I know it's been a lot of travelling and multiple cities.
Yeah, it's been amazing. It's great to finish this duology, but it's great to see so many people so excited for this book and to be able to get out there and meet them and sign the books and talk about the books and just I really love everything about it. So including today, which is awesome.
Excellent. I can't wait for the launch, by the way. So we're at Lynette's Brisbane launch, and yeah, we're excited to kick off soon. Whisper and Weapon have a bit of a sci-fi twist. There's underground labs, there's testing, and there's also the power of speaking. So what's something that you wanted the series to accomplish?
I think I wanted to bring across the idea that our thoughts give power to our words and our words give power to our actions. So we have to be really careful what we think, what we say and what we do, because everything has a chain reaction effect. And so I think that was an underlying thought I had when I was writing it, even though I didn't really realise that until after I'd finished. I was like, oh, heavy metaphor, great. So yeah, that I think in hindsight that was something that means a lot to me, and I wanted to bring across through the words.
I really liked Jane's character in, at the start she doesn't quite know what's going on, but she really comes into her own in the series. What was the inspiration behind it?
So I started writing Whisper when I was in the middle of the Medora Chronicles. My second book was being edited, and I didn't want to go on and write my third book, Dracora, until I found out if much would change in the second book. And so while I was waiting, I just desperately needed to be writing something. And I was in this weird stage of life where I kind of felt like I was I guess, screaming in my own mind and no one was really hearing me. I was going through a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, a lot of pressure. And so this idea of a character who was physically experiencing that kind of entrapment really, I guess, spoke to me. And the first line of Whisper came really clearly to me, and it was, "They call me Jane Doe." And I remember writing that and thinking, well, hang on, they call you Jane Doe, is that not your real name? And if it's not your real name, what is your real name? And why don't they know your real name? And who are they? And what is going on here? And so the premise of Whisper started out as a lot of questions that I had, and I wrote this prologue, which is only about a page or a page and a half long, and in that, we just go through a little bit of that, but then she calls herself a monster. And I was like, well, are you a monster? Why do you consider yourself a monster? Do other people consider you a monster? And so the whole of Whisper was written basically me having questions and then answering a question and then having 3 more questions to then have to answer. And so it just came out question, answer, question, answer, question, answer as I developed the plot and the characters in the story.
Oh, there you go. And it certainly reads that way while, you're going through Whisper, and there's so many questions and answers and twists and turns. Did you do any pre-planning beforehand for all the twists?
For Whisper, not as much, but with Weapon, I got to a point about a quarter of the way through, and I just realized I need to stop. I need to figure out exactly where this is going, because there are going to be so many plot twists and turns that if I don't set them out correctly early on, it's going to be one tangled mess. And so I sat down with this whiteboard and I wrote all these lines and all these interconnecting things, and like where I would put this and how I would have this reveal and how I would have a hint of this early on here for anyone who goes back and rereads. They'd be like, oh, there it is. And so Weapon was really highly planned. Whisper was very much that question answer kind of style of, oh, what's going on? Oh, okay. Oh, hang on. And so a little bit of planning, but mostly just trying to see where it would go.
Yes, I've always wanted to see one of those crazy planning whiteboards. I think it'll be fascinating, actually.
Yeah, I mean, look, to be honest, it looks like a murder scene, like crime investigation from like some kind of CSI show, but one day I may like reveal like a photo. I always take photos of them.
There you go.
Some I actually keep, so like the last book in the Medora Chronicles, I still have the whiteboard that had I have no idea what I'm doing. I've multiple times overwritten on it, which is fun. But then as I figured stuff out, it developed onto the whiteboard. So
Yes.
yeah.
There you go. Speaking of the Medora Chronicles, I know at the end of our days here there was a bit of a teaser. Will we ever get to see more of the Medora Chronicles that you can tell us?
Well, I mean, I can say anything because nothing is set in stone at this moment, which is probably why I can be like, I can speak. Look, I feel like I'm not done with the world of Midoriya yet, or even the world of Tia Oris, and who knows, whatever other worlds could be interconnected there. I feel like there are still so many characters that we've met that have their own stories, but also characters who may have just been mentioned, or maybe even characters who we haven't even met, and just other places in the world that we don't yet know about. So I'm really eager to get back into that world at some stage and continue either prequel stories or sequel stories, or I feel like maybe Alex has done her role. She's kind of survived a lot, and I'd feel terrible putting her through anything else as another main character, but I love the idea of her and her friends and everyone having cameo appearances, and there's just so many opportunities there that I could explore.
Oh man, and as a fan of the Medora Chronicles, I'm really excited to see what's in store for us. I've also got another thing to congratulate you on, which is selling the rights to the Prison Healer.
Thank
Yes,
you.
and what can you tell us about it so far?
Well, not much. I can tell you that it is kind of a mix of Throne of Glass meets Game of Thrones and the Hunger Games. So it has,
gosh.
I know, it's epic fantasy. It is set entirely inside a fantasy world prison. Thus the title. So it's kind of got the grand scope and brutality in a way of Game of Thrones. It's kind of got the slow build of everything kind of connecting in together of Throne of Glass, and it's got the absolute crazy survival necessity of the Hunger Games. So I'm really excited for it. I've really bonded hard and fast to these characters into the world, and as far as I know, there's nothing really like it out there at the moment anyway, and I just can't wait to share it with people. Yeah.
I'm excited as well. I know you're also collaborating with Sarah J. Maas on the world of Throne of Glass. What can you tell us about it so far?
So I'm collaborating with her on this book that is set X amount of years after the Throne of Glass series, and so it's part encyclopedia that goes through what happened over the course of the 7 books and the 5 novellas, but it also does reveal a little bit about what has happened in the time since the end of Kingdom of Ash, where the characters are, what they're doing, what has happened in that gap between the end of the series and where the book is set, and it's also partly visual as well. Amazing art as well that is going to be in it as well, and it's going to be a fantastic project once it comes out.
We asked on social media for readers to get back to us on any questions they wanted to ask you, so I've got a few here. So the first one I have is, were there any major plot changes between Whisper and Weapon?
Oh, do you mean that I edited out?
So when you first started Whisper, did you change your plan after you finished writing it?
Oh, no. No, Whisper to Weapon, all the way through Whisper and all the way through Weapon, it kind of, there was nothing major that changed. There were no, sudden character deaths, there was nothing like that. I mentioned before that I did quite heavily plan Weapon when I was writing it, but there were still surprises to me. So quite early on in Weapon, someone kisses someone, and that was not meant to happen. So it wasn't that it changed afterwards, it was that while I was writing it, I was like, hang on, stop, get your mouth off each other. And so things like that did manage to still surprise me, and I then had to just go with it and sort of slot it into my overall plan. But otherwise there was nothing major that I was like, oh, this is not working, or go back and change this entire thread or anything, nothing like that.
Excellent. So it was pretty much planned from the start.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. What was your favourite Weapon character and your favourite to write overall?
I mean, there's a couple of new characters in Weapon who I really loved. One's called Aaron. She's amazing. She's a little bit complex. You don't know if she's good, if she's bad, if you like her, if you don't. But I weirdly connected to a new character called Theodore Smith, and he's actually mentioned very briefly in Whisper as the person who projects Kale into speaking with Jane, and so he's just mentioned as a name drop in the first book, but you meet him in real time in the second book, and I liked him. I've always loved Cammy. I think she's a good girlfriend, female friend that everyone kind of, it's good to have. And Schrödinger the cat, there's something about writing pets into books. As long as you don't kill them,
Yes.
then you should never kill the dog especially. But, pets in general, protect them, love them, nurture them, and use them as comic relief sometimes. They can be quite lovely.
This is why I love the Medora Chronicles,
yeah.
because it's got the best pets that don't die.
Thank you.
So from the Medora Chronicles, does Caden ever tell Alex she likes his smile?
Oh, I loved writing that scene. It's in Akane, right, when he's helping her back to, after one of her numerous incidents. No, it must have been Raylia. Sorry, I should know my books better. But yeah, he's helping her back to the med ward after she's been concussed and all kinds of other problems. Maybe it was Akane. I have no clue.
One of them.
One of them. And it was just this lovely scene. I feel like that would be a beautiful kind of short story, or like a novella, or like a, if they had some kind of anniversary, dating anniversary or something, he'd be like, so, remember this? And she will have no clue, and that's why she'll be quite mortified. But by that stage, I also think she'll be like, oh, yep, that sounds about right.
How do you deal with self-doubt as an author?
It's crippling. I think I don't really know any author who doesn't, who isn't their own worst critic. And I think the only thing you can really do is just accept that it's there, don't try and fight it, and just be aware that, if it's specifically about, books, then remember that there are books that I love and there are books that I hate. And the same books that I hate, other people love, and the same books that I love, other people hate. And that's the beauty of human nature. We will all love and hate different things. And so I find it really encouraging when people love my books and when they hate my books, because it means they're reading. And so that's the main thing to get people reading. And I will always be the first person to say, I don't know if you should read my books. I'm not sure if you'll like them. Because you never know. And but at the end of the day, I will always want people to try to read them, and if they don't like them, then cool, try something else. I'll recommend something different, or if that by that stage they're like, well, I don't want any recommendations, I'll be like, then cool, go to a bookstore, just keep reading. And yeah, it's really hard to kind of, there's nothing you can really do to combat it except just accept that it's there.
I think that's such a healthy mentality to have, just knowing that, your book might not be for everyone, but there are going to be people who absolutely love it and who champion it as well.
Exactly,
So which state in Australia is your favourite to visit and why?
Oh,
I'm hoping it's ours.
I feel like I don't have to visit Queensland because I live here. I love every state for different reasons. I've never been to the Northern Territory, so I can't answer that one. I would love to go though. I find Tasmania really quite relaxing. It's like Australia's New Zealand, if that makes sense. New South Wales I love for a lot of reasons. I grew up in New South Wales. There's a lot of it that I know and I love. Victoria I'm quite new to. I've only really been to Melbourne and Perth, which is not in Victoria, which is in Western Australia. I've only ever really been to Perth. There's so much of Australia I still want to see, but I love every part of it. South Australia as well, of course. Adelaide I've only ever really been to. There's so much I want to see still, so... But
Queensland's your favourite.
Queensland? Yeah, okay, sure. Let's go with that.
We're not biased at all.
Not at all.
Alright, so we're just going to wrap up now, but thank you so much for catching up with us.
No,
and
thank you.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing what's on the horizon for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so thanks everyone for watching. If you want to follow Lynette on her social media channels, make sure to check out the links down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.